Hello everyone, and welcome to the final episode of our Explore the Digital Future series. I am really excited today to be joined by the incredible Clodagh and Cathal. Give us a wave. Hey,
hi, hello.
So the plan for today is we're going to be having a look at big data. So I'm going to very quickly move my screens around for 2 seconds. And I'm going to share my presentation kind of welcome slide with everyone. And then I'm going to hand off to our very special guests for today. And then we're good to go. So if you just give me 2 seconds, let's get this shared. And where are we? There we go. So welcome everyone to our Digital Futures series on big data. So you'll know that the three of us have been running this series. We've got myself, Niall, who is from Tablet Academy Scotland. We've then got Lara from Microsoft and Jenny from Education Scotland. Now, Lara and Jenny are going to be in the background of today's session again. So if you do have any questions, please pop them into the chat and they'll get back to you. But first of all, we are joined today by Clodagh and Cathal. So I'm going to hand over to them. They've got a little bit of a kind of chat for us today, talking all about their kind of experience with big data, what that means to them, and kind of how they use that in their day-to-day lives. So I'm going to hand over just now. I'll let you guys lead the way.
Perfect, thank you. Hi everyone, my name is Clodagh Monaghan and I'm going to give you a wee bit of insight into the journey I've had over the last few years and how I got to where I am in my role in Microsoft. So I'm a big lover of all things crafty. I love seeing projects move through the motions, so from beginning to end. And in my previous career, it was very fitting because I was a technology and design teacher. I also taught construction and motor vehicle studies, so that always raises a few eyebrows. And for me, I loved working with the pupils to design and create innovative projects. And I feel that I can turn my hand to anything crafty, whether it be the wiring up of a light switch or using a circular saw. So I'm nearly handier to have around the house than my own husband.
Or me.
And and when I'm not crafting or making projects, you'll normally find me being walked or chased by my golden doodle. I've spoken to many people and they all wonder how I made this transition from teaching into tech. And the short answer is that I've always had a real interest in tech, but I always thought there's no way I'm smart enough. Like I can't code. I could never do it. And it was just during COVID that an opportunity arose to apply for Microsoft Data and AI Academy in Belfast. And fast forward 4 interviews and 4 exams and 2 group presentations later, I'm now working for the largest tech company and I'm absolutely loving it. I've learned so much already and I have such a long way to go, but it's the best decision that I've ever made. And I'm now going to pass you over to Cathal. He's going to take you on his journey.
Thank you very much indeed, Clodagh. Hello and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cathal Tierney, and I'll give you a bit of an insight into my road to Microsoft and becoming a data and AI consultant. It's also been a pretty unconventional journey too, but it has been a lot of fun. My background is actually in English and English literature. My degree was in English literature, philosophy and French, and then I majored in English Lit. I did a PGC in secondary English and qualified as a teacher way back when the dinosaurs roamed the earth in 1998. After a 2-year stint teaching English as a foreign language in Barcelona, I taught for 20 years in a grammar school up until June last year. One of my great passions, apart from writing and reading, was actually music. And I was a nightclub DJ playing mostly house and techno for the best part of 20 years too. So it was actually the transition from analog DJing and playing vinyl to digital DJing with WAVs and MP3 that really ignited for me a love for technology. Around this time, I got into sound editing and film editing, which actually led me to start the film and media departments in my school. Couple all of this with the dramatic technological convergence of the early 2000s and the birth of Web 2.0. It all felt really exciting, and I definitely embraced it. I suppose it's fair to say I was an early adopter of technologies and teaching, from Blogger, Twitter, Classroom, Teams, OneNote, Flipgrid, and I actually ended up becoming the principal examiner for Cambridge International A-Level in Media. And the focus there was on digital as well as traditional media too. And I always loved how technology could empower me and my students to go further in our learning journey together. Believe it or not, I'm a very keen sports person, and I've always been obsessed with the data insights in the sort of sports that I'm doing, be it increasing the levels of my VO2 max using my Garmin or competing against other athletes virtually on Strava. I just love the way that data can transform my fitness levels. And like Clodagh, I applied for the Data and AI Academy this time last year, which is kind of like a cross between a master's and a 12-week interview compressed into 3 months. It was really brutal, pretty tough, especially pivoting from teaching Shakespeare to learning how to become a data consultant. But I think it just goes to show that anything can be learned if you've got the desire to do so. So back over to you, Clodagh, to talk about the skills needed in your role.
Thank you. So like I said, I've always been fascinated by the tech industry and the advancements in technology throughout the years. So from being a pupil myself and moving into the classroom as a teacher, I've seen the developments firsthand in the classroom. So the likes of introducing our laser cutters or 3D printers, how software is developed. And I worked very closely with pupils in my room on iterative design and regularly show them a video about an Emma watch. And if you haven't seen it, definitely put it on your to-do list. And myself and the pupils were just fascinated about how you can move through each of the concept stages and how technology and data and artificial intelligence all come together to create something to counteract symptoms of Parkinson's. And I just thought, like, I want to be a part of that change. Like, that's amazing to think that somebody can give that much. And as people were surrounded by data every day, so our smartphones, our laptops, fitness trackers, social media, they're constantly collecting massive amounts of data. And as time goes on, it's just going to become more and more important. So that's what I wanted to be part of that change. I wanted to make an impact. And the skills that I developed in teaching have helped me so much in my career here as a consultant in Microsoft. For example, the number one is communication. Communication is vital to the consultancy role because I need to be able to articulate clearly my understandings and my work to other members of my team and to the customer themselves. Being a big team player, again, in school, you're working as part of a department, you're working with senior management, leadership teams, and in Microsoft, again, it's so team orientated. You need to be open to feedback, you need to take on new ideas from your team, and because you're working with some of the smartest people in the industry, just absorb it all and take as much as you can in and just celebrate success together. Everything's done with your team in mind, and you're always focusing on what can you do to contribute and motivate your team to make the biggest impact. And lastly, I would say just being curious. Don't shut yourself down to any new ideas or challenges. Just want to learn the different technologies, reach out to subject matter experts, get their advice, get their guidance, because curiosity opens so many doors here at Microsoft and allows you the opportunity to grow and just be the best version of yourself and be the best consultant that you can be. And back over to you, Cahill.
Thanking you. And I know you weren't referring to me whenever you were talking about the smartest people at Microsoft. And I just like to echo what you were saying there as well, Clodagh. You know, the skills that I learned in the classroom were completely transferable to my life in Microsoft. As a teacher, your core skills are empathy and sensitivity. And as a consultant, the ability to listen and respond to the needs and desires of your customers is absolutely vital. At Microsoft, we believe in human-centered design, responsibility, and ethics. And I really believe that technology shouldn't be just for the sake of it, but actually how it can empower and transform people's lives. Whenever I was a student of literature and an English teacher, one of my favorite texts was actually Frankenstein. And we know, of course, that Dr. Victor was a narcissistic megalomaniac who wanted to create a being for his own glory. And ultimately, his downfall was architected by his inability to empathize and to understand, and I suppose ultimately find a real world proper use for his creation beyond the mere creation of it. I suppose analytical skills and attention to detail are hugely important as well. Just last week, I had to give a solo half-hour presentation, and that was pretty daunting, I have to say, to business stakeholders of a big telecoms company. And it wasn't only a technical demo, but a sort of like a business value demo as well of a data governance solution, and how that solution could empower the organization to achieve more. I just actually finished up writing a 20-page documentary guidance for the customer after the demo. So there's all of those teachers of a student of English and an English teacher being used once again. Creative thinking, vitally important too. And one of my colleagues absolutely nailed it last week whenever she said to me that we're not actually hired for what we know, but it's our ability to learn and to problem solve that sort of makes us valuable to Microsoft. And kind of alluding to what Clodagh had said earlier as well, network building is so important. We really need to leverage the expertise of others, but also to lend your expertise as well, and not be afraid to kind of put yourself forward. I've actually been in the position recently where I've taught somebody way more experienced than me something new, and that was a real buzz. And we actually have a program of reverse shadowing where someone senior shadows someone new like myself, and we both learn from the process, and that's really cool. And I feel so lucky to be so well supported and empowered, and it definitely does help to defeat that imposter syndrome, and just the idea that you're not alone as well. So back to you, Clodagh, to chat about your role in data.
Mm-hmm. So at the minute, I am working as part of my shadowing experience with a team where they are designing a system to transform livestock traceability within England, and then it'll eventually be rolled out in Wales, Scotland, and the north of Ireland. Their vision is to modernise and transform the existing legacy systems, provide new insight to industry, increased access via digital channels, improve animal husbandry and disease control for the 100 million animals within the UK, leading to an increase in food safety across the nation. So with this is all being done via the Azure platform, and they're building out this traceability solution across many key pillars. And the key pillar that I'm involved in is obviously the data platform. So at the minute, I am focusing on learning and upskilling in the use of Bicep templates and in the Databricks technology to enhance the speed in which you can query the data and provide meaningful analysis. Like I said previous, I was never a coder, and I always found that I was never smart enough to even think about doing it. And look what I'm doing now, and it just shows what having a growth mindset can actually do. Back to you, Cathal.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think it's actually amazing that we both started at the same time, but we're doing entirely different work, aren't we?
Yeah.
Because I think it's fair to say that you're involved in prepping the analytics estate and working what we call the data landing zone, whereas I'm currently shadowing in what's called the data management landing zone, and that's focused on data governance. And as I said earlier, I'm working with a telecoms provider to help manage their data estate. I suppose when we think about the 3 V's of big data, volume, variety, and velocity, we have a vast amount of big data that we're trying to gain insights from, learn patterns from, and use machine learning to predict outcomes from. And I think it's fair to say in the past that many enterprises gathering all of this big data basically have propagated data silos along their various lines of business. So marketing would have vast amounts of data, and finance vast amounts of data, etc. So that would lead to a sort of fragmented data estate, and that leads to sort of inconsistencies and redundancies in data management. Often data management and data management policies have been manual, and that potentially causes compliance and data exposure risks. Up to 93% of enterprise data is actually in the dark or undiscoverable. And then the volume of data doubles every year. So the solution that I've been working with is called Microsoft Purview. And that offers businesses the ability to traverse their data estates seamlessly. And it enables large-scale data discovery and powers data-driven decisions. So it's a data discovery and governance platform, and these are sort of my key areas of interest. And I suppose I'm also learning a little bit now about building AI without data science with Project Bonsai, and that's sort of creating AI with minimal coding. This involves machine teaching, or what we call reinforced learning, which is different to machine learning. It can act as a standalone tool or help employees to aid their decision making. And I suppose I just read a really nice comment on what reinforced learning is. It's compared to going to France and actually trying to learn the language on site. And you'd get a puzzled look from a French person if you're wrong, and you'd be rewarded with a croissant if you're right. And Bonsai was recently deployed by PepsiCo in their production of Cheetos. And Cheeto Puffs are made on a machine called an extruder. And, historically, an operator manually selected a few Cheetos coming off this machine at defined intervals, checking for qualities like shape and bulk density and adjusting sort of inputs if something was off. But the Project Bonsai solution is able to monitor the product almost continuously and using sensors to oversee those qualities. It knows immediately if a product strays outside of a defined range, and it can make recommendations to be approved of by an operator or able to adjust settings itself if working autonomously. So this AI algorithm learns through trial and error, as well as feedback from operators. So that's using that reinforcement learning model. In the simulation, the AI can simulate a day's run in about 30 seconds. So you can imagine how much wastage and inefficiency this reduces. And it doesn't replace the experts either. It can aid them or run autonomously to empower them to be creative and to use their knowledge elsewhere. And personally, I'm just really excited to be at the cutting edge of such new and highly transformative technologies. And I suppose on that note, Clodagh is going to talk a little bit more about Microsoft culture.
Thank you. So we're just going to finish up with highlighting Microsoft's culture and the huge emphasis that they place on diversity and inclusion. Microsoft's mission statement is to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. So with this, we strive to create an environment that brings the power of diversity to life, where people of different backgrounds, ethnicities, and experiences all thrive in both their professional and their personal lives. There's so much more in Microsoft than the technical work you do. For example, Cathal and I are both part of the Families ERG, and we actively contribute our ideas. And we've recently hosted and released a family planning podcast. We're also part of the Azure Cloud and AI newsletter, and we've just recently signed up for the Embrace Mentoring Program. So there are so many different groups that you can get involved in and areas that you can be part of to make you feel like a connected and valued employee.
Absolutely, and it was that growth mindset that really attracted me to work for Microsoft and kind of, work so hard to kind of get here as well. And, that move from a know-it-all to a learn-it-all culture was really, really important for me, especially having that background in education as well. And to echo what you said as well, Clodagh, that focus on diversity and allyship in the workplace, it's so refreshing, and it's also so important. I was lucky enough to work on comms for International Women's Day with a focus on how we can become better allies in the workplace. I just love the pace of change in Microsoft as well. The fact that, the technologies are always evolving, that there's no point in just learning one thing and sticking with it forever, but, always trying to sort of upskill, learn something new, try to sort of be ahead of the curve in some ways as well. There's great career potential. Already, I've only been here 5 months, but I've taken training in change adoption management, which really excites me. And I suppose briefly what that is the idea that if you build it, they will come. If you've got a nice big shiny solution, that just by the virtue of the fact you've got a shiny solution, everyone will love it.
Yeah.
They won't. It's you have to ensure that there's buy-in from every single sort of aspect of your organization from the bottom to the top, and that sort of change happens effectively, and that's properly managed. So that's been really exciting for me, and I have to say I've just absolutely loved working here and feel like I'm very much at home now.
Incredible. Honestly, I've been enthralled for the last 15 minutes just listening to you both. And I mean, I'm not going to show you, but it's written on the back of an Amazon delivery there, because I've got so many questions about everything that you were saying. I was not prepared for this many questions. So just kind of to both of you. Cathal, you mentioned that you use a lot of data in sports, and kind of going down the sound and film editing as well. How else do you use data kind of in your daily lives? So kind of outside of that work environment, how has data kind of made a big kind of change in your daily lives?
Me or Clodagh here, sorry, or either of us?
Oh, sorry, yeah. You okay?
Grand?
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, like as I said, like when I lost approximately 2 stone using data effectively. So that was like a combination of fairly new technologies which are easily embedded on your body and on your phone as well. So for example, like when I actually gave up drinking 3 years ago, and that was sort of like through a desire to lose weight effectively. And so I was able, at that time, my VO2 max was really, really poor. And sort of using the Garmin, I was able to sort of see that incrementally go up effectively, sort of through a training program that was again on my Garmin watch, and that was utterly transformative. And I suppose another kind of hobby in terms of data as well is football. Like I'm a big Liverpool fan, and data and Michael Edwards in particular at Liverpool absolutely revolutionized the transfer market in Liverpool by using analytics and data to get sort of unseen insights into players that you wouldn't sort of get from the naked eye on the pitch, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. I suppose for me, I was trying to think there when Cal was chatting. I love shopping. I love my clothes. So you'll always find me on ASOS and the likes of it. So you can see even just with ASOS and the advancements of it, or if you're on any of the shopping apps, how it can nearly, the data and everything that you're looking at, it's all being processed, and then it's feeding back things that they think that you'll like based on what you've been looking at. So yeah, tick box for me there. Again, speaking on behalf of my husband, he loves his sports, and he uses a stat sports monitor. So it tracks, so when he goes out to trainings or he has a football match, again, it tracks his speed, it tracks where he is on a pitch, so that after his training, he comes back home and he sits on the app and he starts looking and sees where does he spend the most time and where does he get the most out of the match. So again, it can come into so many different areas, like things you wouldn't even think of, but yeah, it's unbelievable, the scope of it.
Yeah, and that's actually the telemetry of that data as well. How that data is easily consumed in charts and maps, heat maps, all that kind of stuff.
Because you can then compare it against like other teammates that have the stat sports monitor themselves, so it nearly turns into a competition, and yeah, it's amazing.
Niall, I think you're on mute there, perhaps. Sorry, Niall, I think you may be on mute.
How about now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Now, I keep getting notification that says that my microphone keeps cutting out, so don't know what's going on there. Is you were saying that especially kind of in football, is that the kind of chest wear that they're wearing, or is that the thing that goes in the boots?
Oh, no, that's the, well, I can only speak for his one. It's the wee vest, and you put the monitor in the vest. A lot of big clubs and stuff now are using it, and I have a friend, and her brother actually works for one of the clubs, where they're performing that analysis and seeing the probability of when players are in this part of the field, how likely are they to score. So it's amazing where it can go.
Hopefully they get another win then with all the data. Right. So I've got a couple of other questions here. So for yourself, Cathal, are there many links?
Sorry, Niall, your mic is gone again. Don't know what's happening.
That now, how is that?
Yep, got you back.
One this time. Okay. So kind of what are there any links between kind of Frankenstein?
Between Frankenstein and data, perhaps? Yeah, I think we keep losing you, Niall, but yeah, absolutely. There very much is. I don't know if you've seen or even read, there's a TV program called The Fear Index that came out quite recently, where you've got this predictive financial algorithm that basically goes rogue. So whenever this historically, it would look at data and see when disasters were about to occur in order to short markets or whatever it may be. It went very rogue and started creating disasters itself. So it very much sort of tied into that idea of Frankenstein, whereby you create something for the sake of it, where instead of thinking, what value does it have, and then you neglect the thing. So this is sort of what I was talking about with data governance as well. We can no longer neglect all of that data we have. It has to be properly managed, properly governed. Is people's data private, for example? Is there transparent data policies? So there's lots and lots of ethics around data, which has its roots in Frankenstein in many ways too, or that sort of, I suppose you call it the precursor of sci-fi in many ways.
Nice one. No, I mean, it's not something that I would have thought would have had that link to the data. So yeah, thank you for that. That's a brilliant insight. I'll
the English teacher in me.
What was that?
That was the English teacher in me as well.
That's finding those links. I love it. We've had a great question come in from Jenny. I think it was Jenny in the chat there. So for Clodagh, you said that your background is in design tech. What ways would you suggest for design tech and CDT teachers incorporating data into their courses?
It's like I said, data takes in such a massive avenue, so they're probably doing it without even realizing. So the likes of when you're creating in technology and design, when you're creating a project with the pupils at GCSE or A level in the north of Ireland, they're using the likes of electronics. They're having to program on the computer to get their project working. And again, all that program and coding is what you use in data engineering. And like I said, I was never a coder, but I'm definitely giving it my all, and just keep reinforcing the coding part and the programming, because it honestly will, like, even just the logistics of understanding the process and how it all links together will excel the pupils, and no matter where they go with that. And even using laser cutters and 3D printers, actually, instead of just showing the pupils, okay, yeah, this is going to cut a wee bit of acrylic, look, watch it happen, it's amazing. Explain the process to them, and how when you draw something on the computer, how that maps across, because it's mind-blowing, and they're actually fascinated too. They're like, I just drew that. How did it just print that out? Because they maybe imagine is just obviously your printer putting out a page of work, but yeah, it fits in so many places that you probably don't even, it doesn't register with you. So thanks for the question.
No, brilliant. Thank you. Yeah, so if anybody does have any questions, please do put them in the chat and we'll get them off to Clodagh and Cathal, and they can kind of help and support to answer your questions. But thank you very much for your time today, both of you. either disappear and watch the live stream on YouTube, or you can sit in the background and enjoy today's session. That's absolutely up to you. But thank you both for joining us.
Thanks
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah,
no worries.
Really,
Thank
really
you.
enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Great. So I'm hearing that my signal is a little bit kind of cutting out today. So sorry about that, everyone. Hopefully it isn't too affected. And I've got myself on my screen on my phone on low quality, just so that it doesn't affect the internet too much. So hopefully everything is okay for today's kind of presentation and show. So I'm just going to ping up my screen just now for everyone to see. We're going to jump into the big data part of here we go, put me down, of the Discover the Digital Futures program. So up at the top, here we are on the Digital Futures program. All I've done to get there is gone into Bing and I have typed in Digital Futures program, and it has popped up with this page. And then I've gone on to big data, and you'll see as I click there we go, we're on to big data. Now, as I scroll down, we have everything that we could possibly need for our 3 lesson plans to support our students. So these lessons are going to be primarily kind of aimed at students from 3rd to 4th level of the Scottish curriculum, but there's absolutely no reason why you couldn't support your younger students with these lessons. Just tailor the wording to support them, even break up the lessons into smaller chunks, and you can scaffold them that way. So we're going to kind of break up our 3 lessons into explore big data, practice big data, and lastly, apply our big data. And then at the end, we get our downloadable certificate, which is editable with your students' names. So the first session that we have here is the Explore Big Data lesson. So this is going to give your students the opportunity to actually kind of learn about what big data means. What does the term stand for? It's maybe something that they use every day and that they kind of have a grasp and an understanding of, but they just have never come across the terms before. So in this, there's some brilliant videos to watch. It's definitely what I used in preparation for today's session, so that I can learn all about big data and how that influences our lives, from the smallest kind of preferences on your device, even to, as Cathal and Claudia were saying, to things like smartwatches, improving kind of your lives and kind of predicting changes and these kind of things. So we have our Explore Big Data lesson up first. So we will be trying to understand what big data is and how it differs from traditional data, exploring the different methods for collecting and storing data. And lastly, we've got considering the ethical implications of the impact of bias in big data as well. And lastly, investigating real life examples of big data through case studies and videos. So this lesson is going to take you roughly just over an hour, where you can kind of start with the big questions and you can kind of chunk it to support your students. On the right hand side, we have our lesson. So we've got both the English language version and the Welsh version there. So you've got your teacher slides and you've got your student slides as well. So if I go into the Educator guide, and you'll see I've already been looking at it. Here we have our Explore the Big Data presentation. So this is everything that the teachers will need to support their students. These are kind of like your notes as the educator. So we have everything that we've just covered there, and kind of we have our lesson in full. So along the top, you can click on any of these and it's going to jump you to kind of the section of the learning. And we have also a ton of kind of educational videos and support so that you can fully take this lesson to support your students with big data. I recommend this video here. So what is big data? It's a great starting point. I'm not going to play it just now, just because it takes about 5-6 minutes. It's quite a long one, but it's a brilliant way for you to understand how big data kind of gets started, and that we don't just have this one place where all your data is stored. It's broken up into lots of kind of different folders and files, and it's stored in multiple different places. So if one place, one kind of system does fail, then you still have access to that data on, say, a computer or server 1 or server 3 or server 4. So it's that it's kind of explains how your data is stored, and that I can't remember the number, but it's a huge big number of data is stored every single day for every single person. And just one kind of laptop or device would not be able to cope with that amount of data. So we need these huge kind of storage systems and kind of plans to support all of our data that is out there. And Cahill did mention as well the 3 V's. So we need to talk our students through these 3 V's, and we will see them in just a wee second. And we've got here our questions. So the quiz. So asking our students how many non-cash payments were processed in Europe during 2019. And you can see the answer there is 98 billion non-cash payments were processed during 2019. Now, I would imagine that that number, I would say at least multiply by 10 possibly, with the use of contactless payments. People can you can pay with your watch now. So this number will be massively bigger from the slide, and that's maybe something that you can talk to your students about and kind of having a look at, well, this data that we have here has actually changed since then. As we go down, we have more things to discuss with our students. Again, as of 2020, how many CCTV cameras are there in Birmingham? So we might want to go onto our maps and kind of discover where Birmingham is, get them to guess, make a kind of work out how many people live in Birmingham, and then we can have a look at the answer. 109,000 CCTV cameras are in Birmingham. Amazing. Like, that's just incredible that there's that many things able to watch down on us. I know that there's the public cameras as well all around the world, so you can go and you can have a wee look at some of these as well, maybe open them up with your students, especially the zoo cameras. They're really cool. I quite like looking at them. So we've got all of our lesson here on big data. It kind of talks about what is big data, where does it come from, the bias in data as well, and the application of that big data, how it all works and links into our lives. And then as we come down to the bottom, we have our supplementary learning in here. So Microsoft Azure was actually mentioned earlier. I think it was by Cloda, that they're using Microsoft Azure to support with the livestock tracing that they're doing and they're currently working on. So you can have a look and kind of play around with these systems and start to learn a little bit more. Khan Academy, as always, fantastic resource with loads of different things for your students. Farm Beats as well. I really like playing on there. So that is the Educator Guide, and for the students, it looks a little bit like this. So we have the exact same lesson, just without all the correct answers. Okay, so you can share this out on Teams with your students. They've then got access to all of the videos that are on there, all of the content, and they can start to kind of answer the questions, and you can work alongside your students. And notice it says lesson slide 2, that links into the Educator guides that are there as well. As we come down, we also have the links to the curriculum as well, so for Explore Big Data. So you can select the other curriculums there. We're going to go for the Scottish curriculum, and I'm going to go download the full curriculum guide. And for within there, here we have, I was last on Internet of Things. So let's come down a bit to, where are we? Explore Big Data, and we have all of our E's and O's in here. And again, you can have a look for the Scottish benchmarks or the Scottish curriculum benchmarks, and you can see how you can use these E's and O's to link into the benchmarks to support your students as they go forward with their learning. So there are loads in here. As I said previously, they kind of link into 3rd and 4th level mostly, but you can kind of tailor these lessons to support the younger ones as well. There's absolutely no reason why you couldn't chunk that learning or you couldn't scaffold to support them. So let's head back. So that is only lesson number 1. We have 3 lessons for our students, or 3 kind of areas. So we have our Explore Big Data, then we have our Practice Big Data. So within here, we've got another hours-long set of lesson and tasks for our students to kind of explore big data, and it's the exact same again. So we have on the right-hand side, we've got our educator guides, and we have our student slides as well. And again, the links into the Scottish curriculum. If I click on the educator guides, just to kind of show you what it looks like. So we've got our practice in here. So we've got our data visualization, how this looks, explain to students that there's a difference between data, information, and knowledge. Data is the value with no obvious meaning, so 5 pence. Information is data with meaning. The cost of a banana is 5 pence. And lastly, knowledge is making use of that information. If I sell bananas for more than 5 pence each, I will make a profit. Okay. Again, we have another video for our students to watch and our supplementary learning. And down at the bottom, we have our opportunities to apply big data. Now, these are kind of similar to the supplementary learning, but we have here the Imagine Cup Junior, which runs every year. I can't remember the month that it runs in, but this is kind of like a challenge for your students to take part in. We've got the learning paths as well for our students. It's kind of like certification on Microsoft Learn, so double kind of go and check them out. And that is where also as an educator, you can discover more about pretty much anything to do with education and the kind of Microsoft certifications that are in there. And all of these can contribute towards your CPD as well. You get a certificate after you complete each of these lessons. So they're all on there to support you. There's thousands of hours worth of stuff on there. I was looking at Minecraft the other day, so definitely go and check out Microsoft Learn. And lastly, we have our Microsoft certifications. I would definitely advocate for the MIEE applications, so becoming a Microsoft certified educator. And there's a brilliant team on Twitter and kind of across Scotland who use the hashtag team MIEE Scotland, or is it? Yes, Team MIE Scotland, I believe, is on Twitter. So go and check them out. There's loads of people there who use Microsoft on the daily, who can support you and who can kind of answer any questions you have about the Microsoft world that we live in. So once you have completed these lessons with your students, you can come down and we have our download certificate here. So let's hit download the certificate just to show you what that looks like. And here we have it. And I love it because you can pop your name in and you can download it. So it's an editable PDF that's in there for your students to edit away. So that is kind of the basics of the big data sessions today. I can see I've got lots of comments coming in the private chat. Hopefully it's all good. Oh yeah, it's all fine. I was hoping it was nobody going to say anything about my microphone. So I'm glad that is okay. Now today you will notice that if I stop sharing my screen, where I'm at, I'm over here, that we have our certificate that you can actually register for as well. And also thank you to this person who is saying hello. Thank you for joining us today. I hope that you have learned something new about big data. So we have our our kind of certifications register. If you've taken part in 4 out of the 5 sessions that we've been running, please do register for today's session, and you will get your certificate that is accredited by Tablet Academy Scotland, Microsoft, and by Education Scotland as well. And you can use that again towards your CPD hours as evidence that you have taken part. So if you've taken part in 4 out of the 5, please do enter your name and let us know, and we'll get that certificate out to you. If you've not yet reached the 4 out of 5 sessions, or this is your first one, please do go back and have a little look at those sessions. We're getting incredible views, so people are clearly sharing the videos out with others. They must have been enjoying them. We've had some fantastic guests joining us, similar to Cathal and to Clodagh today, who have joined us throughout the last couple of weeks, talking about things like coding, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, and getting us kicked off as well by discovering the digital future. So please do go and have a look at them. You can find them on the Tablet Academy Scotland YouTube page. You'll also find them on Twitter. If you type in hashtag Digital Futures, you'll find us on there. There is a playlist on there to kind of keep you right and keep everything together nice and neatly. You'll also find that Education Scotland, I believe, are linking out to that playlist as well. So please do check out all of the sessions that we have been running. Is there anything else what else have we got? Oh, we've also got our, a different form here. So we've also got our feedback as well. So it'd be brilliant if you could feedback to us and just let us know how today's session has gone and how the previous sessions have gone. Let us know your favorite bits. We'll even try and put out some quotations. If anybody's enjoyed any particular bits, let us know, put them out on Twitter and let everyone know kind of what the best bits of the whole sessions have been. So that is today's session coming to an end. I think we're going to end pretty much bang on time for today. So thank you so much again to everyone who has joined in over the past couple of weeks. I know that I have absolutely loved working with Lara and Jenny and all the guests that we have had on. I've learned a ton from everyone who has been here. So thank you so much again. The free lessons are available. All you have to put in is Microsoft Digital Futures or Digital Future Program, and you will find all of these fantastic free lessons for your students, and we know that they will love taking part. So thank you again for joining us for these sessions, and I hopefully will see you again soon. Cheers. Bye.